Hey guys, it's September 13th, 2024, and it looks like off stage the COVID maniacs are trying to ramp up another panic. All right, so I've documented some of this. There's two short films, one on believe it or not, this is Wear a Mask Week. So we're going to go into that. And then the next one is on another group of maniacs that are trying to persuade the world that a COVID infection, i.e., a bogus um, positive test, leads to AIDS or an AIDS-like disease. I kid you not, folks. These guys are well funded and they're working at it. And then the third piece is just something from the archive. It is a physician that documented how the federal government was giving money to churches to push injections and other medical madness. So we just put them all together into one big film because we got so much content lately that we don't start combining short films. We just you'll see. So anyway, forewarned is forearmed. Um, it's good to know that there are people still trying to push this stuff, and so we need to be diligent and paying attention and making sure our friends, neighbors, and family know that this is utter nonsense. And if they try to bring it back, we got to stop it in its tracks. Okay. Hey, everybody, I'm recording this on Thursday, September 5th, 2024, and I'm not sure when I'm going to broadcast it, but it's something I wanted to record while it was on my mind. I live in the mid-Hudson Valley, which puts me exactly where I live, 100 miles due north of New York City. So we have a lot of reasonable folks around here. We also have a lot of New Yorkers. And so we're a bit of an extension of Manhattan and Brooklyn. And so all the mental disorders that one finds down there are up here in abundance. And I want to sort of give an example of that right now. So I saw a flyer, right? And the flyer said, celebrate Mask Week. And I thought, surely this is a spoof, or surely this is an old flyer from 3 years ago. And no, this is a flyer from August 2024. So let me show you the homepage of this group. It's called Celebrate 845. Well, that's our area code. I think that's a great idea. Let's celebrate 845. So about us, campaigns, good for them on Palestine, events, good to bring people together, good to get everyone doing stuff. I think it's a beautiful thing. There's merch you can contact. But when I go to about us, our mission, everyone needs a mission. What else they have going on? They have an FAQ. Good. We all need an FAQ. But the very first thing they have is COVID-19 and accessibility. What? What? And then when I look at their campaigns, we have art institutions. Fantastic. We've got coalitions. Hey, the more coalitions, the better. Free Palestine. Amen. Hudson Valley housing crisis. It's a genuine crisis. And then HIV, no, excuse me, HV, Hudson Valley, Mask Week. So I'm going to click on that. And here we go. Hudson Valley Mask Week 2024, September 15th through 21. So this is not Mask Day. It's Mask Week. And we've got some posters. Here's the dates. Celebrate. Celebrate. And they've got a mask distro. I'm not sure what that is. Flyering. I guess get involved. Here's how to get involved. Not sure what mass distribution. So that's flyering, postering. In other words, hey, take these posters and post them around. We need someone, I guess they, not me, believe me, need someone to design these posters. I'm not sure what the participants are or the amplifiers or the dreamers are. And if you need more information, you can contact Celebrate 845, 845.com. As COVID continues, again, folks, this is 2024, September, like current, right now, continues to get us sick as mask bans creep along the country. We good, by the way. We are inviting New York's Hudson Valley to flex their solidarity muscles en masse. And I do see people, not many, thank God, but I do see the odd person or the odd couple walking around wearing masks. And so this is a week-long action. We want everyone in the 845, where everybody in the 845, which is probably a million people, to mask for a week. Why? They don't say, we're aiming high. Yes, you are. But is there a reason to do this? Is there a medical reason? Is there a scientific reason? Is there a common sense reason? No, they just want people to mask. Now, why? Here we go. Because we keep us safer. Really? How do we keep us safer? If you're sick, stay home. Done. Because we hear folks wanting to opt back into masking, but they say they feel alone or ashamed. Okay, so this campaign is to enable those who somehow, thank God, have stopped this insane anti-medical, anti-scientific, anti-common sense practice of masking. They want to get those people back into masking. So we're going to do it together. It's solidarity. This, by the way, I mean, they've got a lot of things they're claiming to be behind, but this is the thing they're really behind. Do you think someone's paying them to do this? Because COVID and long COVID statistically impacts here we go. It statistically impacts indigenous, BIPOC, and 2SLGBTQ plus the most. We don't want to see these folks fall by the wayside or be failed by the current system who already discriminate against us. All right. So somehow by wearing a mask, which is not medically based, not scientifically based, not common sense based, you are declaring solidarity with indigenous people, BIPOC people, and 2SLGBTQ plus people. Mask bans target protesters. What? Wait, mask bans? I don't think mask bans target protesters. Oh, I see what they're saying. If you want to burn the city down and you're wearing a mask, that's very inconvenient. And you're not allowed to wear a mask, that's very inconvenient because you might get arrested and go to jail. And so they want people to be able to wear masks. And because we all can't get free without a disability justice lens. Okay, so this is the idea that, I mean, and I think you should be aware of other people's disabilities and you should work around them, legitimate disabilities. Nothing wrong with that, but not sure how this adds up to wearing masks. All this is, and if this is all new information, we invite you to read some of our other material in our COVID-19 and accessibility resource guide. Now, I'm not going to do that because I don't read the ravings of the mentally ill because I'm not treating them. Okay. So, here's how we need your help. Do you see how well organized this is? I mean, this is super organization. By the way, if you want to organize your community to do something sane, you could study these people. It's distressing that the insane seem to be better at organizing, but I'll tell you what, there's money behind this. There are PR firms, there are people with degrees in social psychology, there are copywriters, and they are probably doing this throughout the country, quote, assisting the progressive community in how to, stoke the paranoia fear and get more of the mentally unbalanced to start wearing masks again. So if you're a participant, that's step one. Just mask for a week. No medical reason. It's just a demonstration of theoretical solidarity. An amplifier. Can you invite folks, your customers, your staff, your mailing list, your following, your neighbors, your coworkers? Can we collaborate on social posts? How can you call? How can you help call folks into this action? So this is very smart. Once you got somebody agreeing to do something insane, um, get them to get other people to do something insane. And some people have mailing lists and some people have employees. God help the employees. And some people have customers that they're going to lose if they do this, but that doesn't bother the social reformers here. I mean, this is so pathetic. I have never seen such organization locally for something that matters, but I see it for this. The mask distro, can you help get masks into people's hands? Because, they cost $1 and they're available at the store, but we have to somehow make it a big deal to get them out to people. This can include being a mask pickup spot. Yeah, you can have masks on your front porch and hand them out. Host a pop-up in public places. Transport masks across the valley. How about food? How about sports equipment for kids and books? No, we're going to distribute masks. And drop them off at places like libraries and community fridges and bus stops. Flyering, can you help us post these flyers? And look how clever they are. To print the flyer, just click here. I beg truly progressive groups, real ones that are trying to do good things, to do this simple thing. Put a PDF on your site, let people download it, print it, and post it. I have very few takers, but these people get it, so God bless them. They need a designer, but they've got one, but they're always looking for more. They need a translator because you know what? English is not enough. We need it in Spanish. We need it in Tagalog. We need it in Portuguese. We need it in Chinese. And Dreamer, okay, is there another way you can picture yourself getting involved in this insanity? Let's talk. Want to host us for a conversation prior to Mask Week. I mean, do you see how organized these folks are? If you already always mask up, we love you. Oh, this is so sad. If you've been on break, we hope we can bring you back. If you want to help out, let's chat. Masking. So these are people that want permanent masking. Even though there's no medical basis, there's no scientific basis, and there's no common sense basis. Masking equals harm reduction. It equals anti-racism. It equals community care. It equals solidarity. And apparently, it equals everything. Partners in solidarity. Black Cat runs a HEPA air filter purifier at all times. Not sure who those people are. Here's another company. They're going to be there on the 7th with free masks, and they're going to run a mask hub. This is in Newburgh. Comrades at SUNY New Paltz. Now they're mixing, we deeply condemn this racist, ableist, Zionist institution, which showed its true colors. So now they're riding on a true catastrophe, mixing freeing Palestine with their own insanity. We have I don't mean to call attention to specific people, but they are calling attention to themselves. So here's something called the Doghouse Press. Here's a hairstylist, I guess. Here's a marketplace. Here's the Institute for Animal Happiness. Hard to fight that idea. Here's a package store. The owner of the shop has a master's degree in public health. He masks all the time and has some really amazing insights about why protecting ourselves and each other is still super important. This is a liquor store. He was allowed to stay open during COVID, wasn't he? Prisoners Brain Trust. Okay, rally for Free Palestine. They're going to interfere with intersectionality is the key. In other words, we're going to ride on the coattails of a legitimate social movement with our insanity. Oh my God, these are local people who I know and love. Um, Good Lord, give me a break. We got upstate granola. Look at all these folks. So they've managed to get a bunch of people enrolled in this. Now this is obviously somebody's being paid to do this, and they have access to pretty first class propaganda skills. The site looks kind of primitive and simple and down home, but that doesn't mean the thought and the intention behind it are that way. Okay. Um, so this is going on, excuse me, in one corner of the United States. This was one of the, I don't know what it was like where you were, but this was one of the most insane places in America during the COVID con. And they did a lot of harm to a lot of people. We had the local public health officials demanding that infants be injected with the still undescribed injection. We still don't know what's in it. The ingredients are still redacted. But luckily, we have a public health graduate who can give you some amazing reasons why you need to wear a mask forever. So hopefully these folks will remain um, an obscure and sad minority. But just so you know, there are people behind the scenes still stoking the engines of paranoia, fear, anti-scientific thinking, anti-medical thinking, and anti-logical thinking. And the reason is if they can force masking again, they can force people back into the paradigm of you don't get to take this mask off until you get our next injection. So this is some sad stuff, and sorry to see it in my own backyard, and sorry to see otherwise good people supporting this. It's a terrible, terrible, terrible thing. Um, Anyway, that's the news on this. I'm going to log out of here. Hopefully, I recorded that correctly. And thousands of propagandists at the federal, uh, state, and local and quote community level were involved in the COVID con, helping terrify people, spreading make-believe science, um, encouraging coercion, uh, encouraging hostility against people that were not wearing masks. Um, and those people are still alive and well and still working away. And we just should be aware of them. And because it was probably a bright, shining moment in their lives. I had one guy who I've known for years in San Francisco. I mean, a phenomenal organizer, an activist, and he literally believes that we all have to wear masks forever. Um, that we've disrupted the environment so badly. Well, all I can remember is 2 million young men going in and out of Vietnam over about a 10-year period, in deep in the jungles, in the most horrific, unsanitary conditions imaginable. And if there was a time that messing with nature, and then of course they all came back to the United States. If ever there was a time where messing with nature was going to cause havoc, that was it. And the only havoc that was caused was Agent Orange, which was a chemical that the same people that want us to get these injections manufacture. Um, why the so-called progressive activists don't see this, don't understand this, I don't know, but mine is not to reason why. Mine is to offer an alternative view. Hi, this is Brass Check, and it's September 12th, 2024. And I was hoping to do some house cleaning today. We got hundreds of files that are in complete disorder, and we're trying to get some order to them. But something came up, and I just had to stop and record this because it's mind-boggling. Let me see if I can share. All right. Okay. This is a group called the World Health Network. And boy, they are big on pushing the pandemic panic button. And they've got all kinds of resources for you on long COVID, school safety, variants, uh, and so on. And they have some kind of science, they say. Uh, it's the public. They're trying to sound like the World Health uh, Organization. I don't know exactly who they are. Let's say, who are they? Meet our team. Uh, well, here they are. Look like a pretty shabby group of individuals, and there's a lot of them. Look at, my God, look at this. And they're out there, and they're in large numbers, and somebody's funding them. Let's see, what's their mission? Minimizing harm to individuals and society in the face of the COVID-19 pandemic. Well, maybe you could have got the masks off children and not forced infants in the United States to get the COVID vaccine that they didn't need. So I'm not sure who these people are, but obviously they have a lot of money and a lot of time. And yeah. All right. But anyway, let's read this article here. It's mind-boggling. And we've been talking about the Fauci's first fraud. We started releasing excerpts of it in April of 2020. Yeah, 2020. The film came out in August of 2020. It was cited at least 24 times by the Bobby Kennedy book, The Real Anthony Fauci. We turned the film into a book, which has come out, which I hope you will support. It's over in there in the upper left corner. And what is our thesis? Our thesis that is that COVID is just a replay of the AIDS fraud. They use the same exact playbook. Now, many of you have heard me say this before, but it's worth reviewing because even I forget because there's so much to keep track of. Basically, it's the mysterious illness, the mysterious virus that comes out of the blue, maybe from a monkey, maybe from a penguin. We don't know. And it is deadly. It's just deadly. Like, you get it, you're dead. And it's transmissible. Somebody walks across the street 10 blocks from you, and you're going to get it, and you're going to die. And there's no cure. So stew on that for a few months, and then out comes the magical cure. It's remdesivir, it's injections of unknown substances, or it's AZT in the case of AIDS. Same playbook, same guy, same news media, New York Times helping uh, flog the panic. But here we have the World Health Network with their important announcement. And they're warning scientists and economists, better pay attention to this, compounded by the AIDS-like features. There's a global emergency. And they're now saying that SARS-CoV-2 infections, and that means you've taken a bogus test and gotten an unreliable result for something that may have no impact on your health whatsoever, probably doesn't. But if you've got one of these raging infections as a result of a bogus test, you now run the risk of catching an AIDS-like disease. And let's read the nonsense. Over 1 million people in the US are being infected with severe acute respiratory syndrome, coronavirus type, SARS-CoV-2 every day. Holy smokes. I'm ready to jump out the window just reading that. Acute. You can name something anything you want. Having a genetic artifact that they call CoV-2 does not mean you've got severe acute respiratory syndrome coronavirus. Just means they gave you a bogus test and it came up. And as we pointed out, when people were in the hospitals, if they didn't get a positive test the first time, they'd keep testing them over and over until they did. Oh my God. Originally named after the acute respiratory syndrome, it can cause, as a consequence, blood vessel damage in the lungs. It's a blood vessel virus that spreads through the airways. It's a complex multi-system disease because it's airborne and it can persist in the body and is detectable in body and brain tissue, even at the autopsy of recovered patients. You know what else they find in people who are getting autopsies, the people that have gotten the injections, that their blood vessels are destroyed as the result of clotted as the result of the injections. Anyway, I could go on and on about this. They're attributing all kinds of dire things to having a positive COVID test. These people want you to be in masks for the rest of your life. They want you to take every booster, every variant booster, and this panic to be a endless part of your life. Um, so sick, unbelievable. Now, here's what they say. In addition, many scientists, who these shabby characters that appear on the "Who Are We" list of this bogus organization, are now issuing warnings. SARS-CoV-2 triggers a new airborne form of acquired immune deficiency syndrome. Okay, we actually predicted this bullshit back in 2020. We said that COVID sounds a whole lot like airborne AIDS. In other words, fraud piled on fraud piled on fraud. Here we are in 2024, 4 years later, and the World Health Network is now spewing this absolute, unhinged, insane garbage. This is not AIDS as we know it. So they've just told you it causes AIDS, right? But then they're saying, but it's not AIDS as we know it. It's a new type of acquired immune deficiency syndrome with different deleterious effects on immune function. Now, the original AIDS caused by HIV, which we know to be a fraud, HIV does not cause AIDS. HIV, you have, and here's how we know this, and you don't need a PhD in medicine or an MD to know this. There are people with AIDS that don't have any HIV, and there are people with HIV that never get AIDS. So the whole thing is bullshit, as uh, Kary Mullis, the Nobel Prize winner, stated, as Peter Duesberg, the leading retrovirologist on the planet, stated, as Luc Montagnier, the discoverer of the so-called HIV virus, stated. The top people called this bullshit, and they called it bullshit a long time ago. The only people that are keeping it going are the idiot news media and the corrupt bureaucrats. So anyway, the thesis is that AIDS takes 10 to 15 years to make its presence felt. And I love that. I mean, this is just, if you want to terrorize people, this is the way to do it. With the initial infection usually barely noticed and often resembling a common cold, until its damage manifests, leading to death in the absence of treatments. And who has the treatments? Oh boy, all our friends, all our Anthony Fauci friends, starting with Gilead, the makers of remdesivir. Um, and on 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 it goes. So how do we protect ourselves? How do we protect our children when government public health advice has failed? Really? You think the government and all the psychotics that have pushed the COVID con and fraud haven't worked hard enough? You think the tens, possibly hundreds of billions of dollars, if you count all the free advertising they got via the news media, you don't think that was enough? You think more needs to be done? We got to reduce transmission. We've got to hand wash, but that won't really help. We need respirators. Really? We're going to walk around with respirators now? Uh, they're talking about ventilating indoor air. That's not a bad idea. How about opening a window? Clean them. Clean medical facilities. That would be a nice change of pace, to have clean medical facilities in this country. Um, and they're basically, guys, it's just so you understand, it's September 2024. They are attempting to bring back the COVID panic, and they're doing it by amping up the stakes, saying that COVID causes an AIDS-like disease. And everybody's got to use masks again, and we got to have tracking, and we have to have population wide testing. We've got to be eating outdoors in the winter again, and on and on and on and on it goes. I thought this was a joke. I thought this was a farce. I thought this was satire. No, it is the good people. Let's take a look at them. It's the good people at the World Health Network. And we don't see a whole lot of doctors here. We got a translator. This is quite an interesting fellow. Um, Here's a product manager. Nurse, okay. Here's a platform administrator looking like he's wearing doctor's clothes. He ain't I don't think he's a doctor. No, he ain't a doctor, but he's wearing the doctor blue. And we got a community, an events planner, and we've got a data scientist because they're so freaking useful. We have a business leader. We have, I don't know what this guy is. Um, we don't know who this guy doesn't seem to have any degree, but he's claiming science. He's got the word science, and he's involved in comms. And we've got another science person. Oh no, she's a developmental biologist. Okay, good for you. You're smart enough to be an idiot. Did you know? I just learned this from an astronomer, a very famous astronomer, that there are many people with PhDs in astrophysics that cannot identify a single star in the sky. Let me repeat that. And this came from a very serious astronomer guy. Like he's published all over and he's no joke. He says there are many PhDs in astrophysics who cannot identify a single star in the sky. Keep that in mind next time somebody waves their PhD in front of you. Now, here's a guy with a PhD in electrical engineering. So he's going to tell you all about how COVID creates AIDS, um, indoor air quality advocate. Now, how's this fellow? He's an investor involved in software programming. Here's a marketing fellow pushing zero COVID. Um, Here is a guy that says science, and there's no indication he even has any scientific training. Well, we have a philosopher. Here's another communications person. Here's a community relations person. Here's a content creator. Here's a really unfortunate person. Um, got a PhD and an MD. I'm not sure what this got. PhD in engineering. Well, that's relevant. And on and on and on it goes. So just to go back, just to bring this full circle, this group, World Health Organization, is trying to tell you that the bogus uh, uh, diagnosis of having an active infection of COVID because you've got a genetic artifact came up in your bogus test, which they amped up with endless repetitions to make sure that they amplified the tiniest thing. Do you realize that if you ride the subway in New York City, this was established before COVID came along. If you ride the subway in New York City, virtually every transmissible disease in the world is on that subway. And nobody's dying from it because it's in such small quantities. And most people are healthy enough because that's how we're made to throw that stuff off. Okay. But you can take a tiny bit of genetic material and amp it and amp it and amp it to suddenly something that is inconsequential appears to be a raging infection. And they're going to tell you that this leads to an AIDS-like syndrome. And we got to lock down the schools, put everybody in a mask, on and on and on it goes. Hopefully these people will not get traction. Hopefully everybody will understand that they are lunatics and dangerous lunatics, but we have to know that this message is out there. They're being funded, they're being promoted, they're being supported. And this thing that we predicted in 2020, you know, that someone was going to come up with the idea that COVID was airborne AIDS. It took a while, it took them 4 years. They're slow on the draw, but they finally came up with it, and now they're trying to push it. So anyway, just want to give you a heads up. This is what's percolating beneath the surface. Hopefully it will not get traction. But one of the ways it doesn't get traction is if we are aware of it and ridicule the hell out of it because it has no basis in medicine. It has no basis in science. It has no basis in common sense. It is a pure fear terrorism campaign. And if you trace it all the way back, you will take it to the doors of Moderna and uh, Gilead and whatever deviants Tony Fauci left behind when he retired.
This is a second article, a total of 12 or so medical legal briefs. This was published last month. This went viral. This details the $180 billion, which was used to capture all of the hospitals, systems, and health systems, healthcare providers in the United States of America, nearly all of them, $180 billion. And they likely all signed the quid pro quo or the practice agreement in which they too were not allowed to deviate from this lethal narrative. We did spend some time focusing on Houston Methodist, who I would say announced or maybe bragged that they would set the precedent in the country. They were given over $250 million in all their multiple systems. And you all know the famous Mary Talley Bowden, who was fired because she refused to take the vaccine. Then we also focused on one of the largest Catholic healthcare systems, Sisters of St. Mary's Health out of St. Louis. They took $307 million and were vastly followed in the steps of Houston Methodist. I was honored to work with them, and I really liked them for 5 years. I was their #1 reader for high-risk obstetrics. I was hailed as their systems model physician. I was fired this past summer, not because they wanted to fire me, but because they had to fire me. Otherwise, they'd have to pay this money back. This is the most egregious article that we just published less than a week ago. This has gone viral. If you think it was inappropriate for the federal government to intermingle with a private organization and get into the exam room of pregnant women, which in essence they did, they used trusted messengers, 60,000 OBGYNs to push this deathly lethal narrative in pregnant women. And why did they capture? Because this is a sacred relationship. This is a sacred relationship of an obstetrician in a very private exam, where maybe the first pregnancy exam where there's a new life. This goes one step further. What they did, the federal government, was they commandeered the, after causing the churches and places of worship to go broke in 2020 by shutting their doors. Well, guess what they did in 2021? They offered them large amounts of money if they would push the lethal, deadly narrative from the pulpit to all of their congregants, be it synagogues, be it the Catholic Church, be it the Protestant churches, be it the temples and the Muslim imams, the same thing. They were all sold this, put pressure from the Biden administration. We see here Zients, that is the head of the White House. We see the Francis Collins, who was actually called a pastor during this outrageous. We see Vivek Murthy, the Surgeon General. This is an abomination. I want to show you, wrap up here. This is one of several scriptures they put in, they had the audacity to put in this toolkit. And I just want to take some time. I am a student of the scripture, Judeo-Christian scripture, most of my life. And I personally am outraged by the malintent of the federal government and Francis Collins giving these pastors, these faith leaders, grossly grotesque, false scientific facts, and then pushing it from a scriptural perspective. Read this from Deuteronomy 26:8. This is in your Bible or in your Torah. The Lord took us out of the narrow place with a strong hand and an outstretched arm. This is how the toolkit interprets this scripture. The narrow place refers to COVID. The strong hand refers to the hand holding the syringe. An outstretched arm is the arm receiving the vaccine. The Bible's message is clear. Go forth and be vaccinated, that ye may live.
Brass Check TV, free to you, not free to us. We've got a server bill, we've got an email software bill, we've got a tech helper bill, and that happens every month. So to everybody that is supporting us financially, that's paying for their subscription in one way or another, we really appreciate it. If you're not, consider doing so. Everybody's got money for the newspaper and the cable bill and all that. Do you have money for media that's actually serving you? That's really the issue here. And when you help us, it allows us to get this information out to the world. So thanks to all our supporters, and if you're not a supporter already, please consider becoming one.